Hi there, this is Angus Miles of the Oracle Solution Centre in Linlithgow, Scotland, and I'm going to give you a demo today of the Oracle Cloud Machine. So the Oracle Cloud Machine is an appliance designed to live in a customer's data centre and deliver those same services that the customers can enjoy in the Oracle Public Cloud behind their own firewall. And what we're going to look at today is one of the platform as a service offerings we have on the Oracle Cloud Machine, which is the Java Cloud Service. And that's pretty much the same as the Java Cloud Service that you can buy in the Oracle Public Cloud. It has WebLogic at its center, it has some great push-button provisioning, and it has some added value cloud tooling around it in terms of backups, in terms of load balancing and integration with the data grid tier. That's what we're going to show you today. So you can see on my screen I've got the login to the Java Cloud Service service console that's living on one of the cloud machines in our lab in Linlithgow. So I'm going to log in with my credentials. So these credentials are given to the customer by the Oracle Cloud Ops team. So I'm logging in as the administrator. I have a password, and I'm also going to log in with what we call my identity domain, or which is a synonym for the tenancy. So the name of the tenancy. So I'm going to log in there. I'll sign in. And what we'll see looks very familiar if you're a user of the Oracle Public Cloud. So this is the service console for JCS. I've got a summary of my usage there. I'm running 2 JCS instances consuming 7 OCPUs, and you can see how much storage and memory and public IP addresses I'm using as well. And then below we've got a list of our existing JCS instances. But what we'll do first is step through the creation of a new JCS instance. So I get a screen here where I can choose my service level, and we'll pick the full Java Cloud Service with all the additional cloud tooling. We'll also pick to bill monthly. And next we move on to the software release, the software version that we want to use. We've got a choice here of 11.117, WebLogic 12.1.3 and WebLogic 12.2.1 with the multi-tenancy. But what we're going to do is we're going to pick 12.1.3. We'll click Next. And here we get to choose which edition we're using. Now the edition dictates how many features you can use. This also has an impact on pricing as well. So all of this PaaS services paid for on a subscription basis, just like on the Oracle Public Cloud. We'll pick the full fat edition, so it means we can use Oracle's in-memory data grid coherence as well. We click Next, and then we get to specify some of the details around about what we want to call our instance. So we'll call this demo JCS 2, we'll call it. We won't give it a description. We'll pick the cluster size. So as you can see, I get a choice of 1, 2 or 4 for the cluster size. So this is going to be the number of WebLogic managed servers I use. Now I only have a choice of those numbers in the web UI, but there is a matching REST API where I can specify any number of cluster size that I want, even wild things like odd numbers if I wanted to. So we'll pick 2, and then we're going to pick the compute shape. So the compute shape is just a combination of CPU and RAM, and those choices that you see in that list match those that are available in the Oracle Public Cloud. So we'll just pick OC3, it's a fairly simple one, and then we're also going to pick a public key. So even though we're doing a platform as a service level offering here, you have full access to the virtual machines that underlie that offering. So it's possible to log in and make changes to the Oracle Linux operating system. And that SSH access is secured with a SSH public key, which we're going to enter there. Put that one in. So we'll give ourselves a WebLogic administrator name. We'll deploy the sample application, and we'll also pick a in-memory coherence data tier. So this is specified not in terms of cluster size, but in terms of how much data we can store in the data grid itself. So you can see here, this will allow us to store, if the tooltip comes up, I believe that's 1 virtual machine at 7.5 gig. This one will be 3 virtual machines, which when you compute the space needed for coherence itself and the space that coherence takes to keep backups of all the objects we put into the data grid, this will give us 4.5 gig of primary cache capacity. So we'll pick the small size there. And then what we also need to do is we also need to specify a location for our database configuration. So JCS keeps some metadata in a database. So we'll pick and what we need to do is specify a JDBC connection string there. So we'll put sys and welcome1. So this, as I say, is metadata. This is not application data. And we could be using a database cloud service instance on the same Oracle Cloud Machine for this database as well. So we could link the two together like that. What we also get, as well as WebLogic and Coherence, we get a software load balancer, which is actually Oracle Traffic Director. This is provisioned for us, and it sits in front of the WebLogic cluster and proxies HTTP requests to the applications that we're going to deploy on that cluster. So we'll ask to provision the load balancer. We'll pick least response time as our load balancer policy, and we'll keep the small OC3 compute shape. And we also have an option here to provision a second load balancer node if we wanted, for some redundancy within our load balancing tier, but we'll leave that as it is and just go with one load balancer. Now, again, simplified options there for specifying our load balancer, but we do post creation have full access to the Oracle Traffic Director console, so we can make any sort of complicated changes we want. We could do some SSL setup. We can install our own certificates. We can use any of the features in Oracle Traffic Director. And here we see a screen to pick networks. So you don't find these set of options in the Oracle Public Cloud because you have a very flat network in OPC. Here we have a network that's been specified by the customer. Now we, for this JCS demo tenancy, have only assigned one Ethernet network to that tenancy. So in our public access network, which is the one that's used to access the applications, we only get one choice here. And likewise, we don't have a dedicated network for the metadata database traffic, so we'll leave that as none there and use the same network for that metadata traffic. What we also do is we have some automated backups in JCS, so we can specify here a NFS location, and the inbuilt tooling for JCS is going to use this location to store the backups of the JCS instance. In this case, we're using the onboard storage in the Oracle Cloud Machine, and that's perfectly permissible in a customer deployment. But the customer also might want to choose to store those backups off the rack itself for a little bit of extra security in case the rack goes up in flame or something happens, or the cleaners spill a bucket of water on it. So we'll pick the onboard location because it makes life simpler for us. So we click next again, and we get a summary of the options we've put in there, and then we click create. And the platform service engines on the Oracle Cloud Machine are going to go away and start processing that request. The first thing they'll do is check the quota that's available to the tenancy, and once that check passes, they'll summarize how many virtual machines are needed, and they'll start to make calls to the infrastructure as a service layer on the Oracle Cloud Machine to provision the virtual machines. After that, they'll install the Oracle software, post-configuring the storage, of course, install the Oracle software into the storage, and then configure that Oracle software and start that Oracle software. All in all, it takes around about 24 minutes for the sort of spec that we picked in our demo there. And that's obviously much faster than you can do it manually. And of course, we're getting not only WebLogic with a cluster setup, we're getting Coherence integrated into that cluster, a Coherence tier as well, and a load balancer in front of it as well. What we'll do while that's installing, we'll go and look at an existing instance, and we can see kind of the topology. So on the main screen, we get again a summary, how many OCPUs, how much memory and storage are used by this particular instance. So bear in mind when I say instance, an instance is what's created in response to a single request, and that can compose in the JCS case of several different virtual machines. And we can see here we have one virtual machine running our administration server, and that's been assigned an Ethernet address that will allow us to access the WebLogic admin console. And this virtual machine is also hosting the first managed server as well. Then you can see we have a Coherence data tier, so we've got a cache capacity of 4.5, just like the one we picked just previously. And a little bit further down we have our load balancer, again with a public IP address, obviously because it needs to be accessed by clients. And because we deployed our sample demo, we've got a URL here. So we've got a self-signed SSL certificate, so we'll just store that self-signed certificate. And you can see I'm accessing the sample demo that we selected in our creation link there. Just get rid of that, scroll down. And we've got a little bit of associated services, so this is the metadata database that we're using down here as well, and we get some information around about what version we're using, which is WebLogic 12.1.306. If we move into the administration tab, you can see some of the extra tooling that we have here. So we've got automated backup set up. We specified an NFS location to store our backups, and every night it takes a backup. So once a week it takes a full backup, and the subsequent 6 days are incremental backups. And if we change the topology of the JCS instance in between those full backups, it detects that change and will make the next backup a full backup to make sure that significant change we made is secured in a full backup. So I can choose any one of these backups and choose to restore from it or delete it perhaps. I can do a manual backup if I click here. I won't do that right now because we want to look at some of the other features in here. What we also have is the ability to patch. So we don't have any patches staged for us right now, but once a quarter the Oracle Cloud Ops team will apply a quarterly update to the Oracle Cloud Machine, and that quarterly update may or may not include some patches that are applicable to these JCS instances. So those might be Oracle Linux patches, there might be WebLogic patches, Coherence, OTD, or JDK patches. And if they were contained in that applied quarterly update, they'd appear here and be available to the owner of the JCS instance to apply them at a time of their suiting. So that's the automated patching. And we also have the ability, if we're doing some application deployments, to disable traffic to our load balancer. And this is going to send an HTTP 503 back upstream to the upstream load balancers in the customer's data center, and that can be handled appropriately to say, maintenance underway. So what we have here on the topology page is the ability to change those choices we made in that creation wizard. Perhaps we've found that we want to scale out, so in that case I can go to scale up here and I can add another node to my WebLogic cluster. That node will be spun up on a new virtual machine, the product will be installed, a managed server created, it'll be joined into the cluster and then started. If I want to scale up, if I find I don't have enough CPU or perhaps enough RAM, I can pick the option here to scale up, so I can change that compute shape. Remember, we picked the smallest shape when we created these JCS instances, so I can change the allocation of CPU and RAM to my virtual machine. Or perhaps I want to add new storage, so I can extend the existing storage volumes, or I can create a brand new storage volume and attach that if I want to do something on the file system like store additional logs or stage uploaded files or whatever. When it comes to scaling the coherence tier, it's slightly different. So remember, we work in capacity units. So by default, we had the ability to store 4.5 gig of Java objects into our coherence cache tier. So this would allow me to add a capacity unit and go from 4.5 to 9 gig of storage. And again, under the covers, that would entail the creation of new virtual machines. And for our load balancer, we have the ability to stop and start, restart it. And also, if we decided we really did want two active load balancer nodes, we could add an additional load balancer node there as well. So that's kind of the story. That's kind of the service console. We have some additional information up here, so we can look a little bit about our service metrics. Give me some very high level information about how my JCS instance is responding to requests. You can see we've got how much heap we're using there. I can also view that in terms of response time as well. And if I go back to my service instance here, I can also access the standard WebLogic console. So if I click here, click through the self-signed certificate. I've got it, because at the heart of the JCS instance is the WebLogic product. This is the same WebLogic console that you would get if you had an on-prem deployment of WebLogic 12.1.3. So any of those, existing WebLogic skills that you've got in the team aren't made redundant because you've moved to the Oracle Cloud Machine. You can employ all of those same WebLogic skills that you have. And we can have a quick look at the environment here. We can see our managed servers. So we have, I think that's 3 managed servers for the data grid tier. We have an admin server and 2 managed servers running WebLogic servers, allowing us to deploy Java EE applications. You can see we have a couple of clusters as well. I think we have a data grid tier cluster for coherence and a cluster for WebLogic itself. We also have Fusion Middleware Control if we need to deploy ADF apps or any higher level products that we want to use. And you can see we get some sort of summary uptime and heap usage information on this screen here as well. So that's really a run through of JCS on the Oracle Cloud Machine. I'm going to be doing some more demos about the Oracle Cloud Machine, about IaaS and database cloud service as well. So stay tuned and hope to speak to you soon.